Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the video. It's your fellow Skeptic. If you support a specific group in this issue, you'd probably be called anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, depending on what side you're supporting in this political landscape. And several things have been going on in the recent times. The Iran-Israel conflict, with very controversial statements from the supreme leader of Iran, with Trump bombing Iran, with the nuclear enrichment plan that has been going on in Iran for a really long time, actually. And one of the things, right, regarding this issue that I don't understand is that most of the people, when they talk about the history of this issue, just start to talk about the issue from 1900 onwards. The reason why 1900 cannot be trusted is because the history spans way past. It goes into BC when it comes to Israel and Palestine. 1900, Israel was a part of the Ottoman Empire. And even before that, there's a lot of history that went on with that. And I believe this is the video that tackles all of it. It starts from the beginning, from the BC. So that's why I chose this video specifically. So let's look at it. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. Yes.
Israel, the world's only Jewish state, located east of the Mediterranean Sea, and Palestine, the territory of the Arab population that hails from the Israel-controlled land, have long been known for their enduring conflict with the Israeli occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. The tension between Israel and Palestine has been deteriorating in years, climaxing with...
Why is it distributed in such a weird way, man? It's like somebody sprinkled, the toppings on
with many violent
donuts
clashes between the two
right
sides. To understand the root of the Israel-Palestine conflict, we have to look back a few thousand years ago.
Few thousand, yes, that makes sense.
Early history of Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In the 17th centuries BC, following the call of God, three patriarchs of the Jewish people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, settled in Canaan.
Following the call of God. Okay.
A region approximating present-day Israel, the West Bank, and the Gaza
Isaac,
Strip,
Abraham, and
parts
Jacob.
of Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan.
Okay.
The region later had the name the Land of Israel, the Promised Land, the...
Right, 1700. Okay, we are talking about 1700, and there was something called as Land of Israel, which I don't believe was like heavily Jewish populated. I think a lot of Muslims are also living in this area.
Palestine region, or the Holy Land. In 1000 BC, King Saul established the Israelite monarchy, which then was ruled by King David, who made Jerusalem, who built the first temple in Jerusalem.
Right.
After the death of King Solomon, the united monarchy was split into the Kingdom of Israel in the north, with
King
Samaria
Solomon
as the
Kingdom of
capital, and the
Judah.
Kingdom of Judah in the south,
Yeah.
with Jerusalem as the capital. The land became home to a majority of Jews, but then it was subject to numerous conquests of various groups.
Oh, so the land had a majority of Jews at that time itself. Okay, I did not know that.
Leading to the significant decrease of the Jewish population
Why?
on the land. One of these conquests was conducted by the Roman Empire, who gave the name Palestine to Judah, intending to break the Jewish connection with the land of Israel.
Interesting.
During this time, Christianity, which started as a Jewish sect, ultimately became a dominant religion toward the end of the Roman Empire. In the 7th century came an Arab conquest, beginning the spread of Islam. The Dome of the Rock was built on the ruin of the Second Temple, making Jerusalem the holy city to three monotheistic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. After Christians in Jerusalem were intensely persecuted by the Seljuk Turks, a Central Asian empire with ambition to expand its territory, Christians in Europe launched several crusades to bring the holy city back to the hand.
Okay, so Christians were also, I know Brits were involved one way or the other, but I had no idea it went on this way.
During this time, many Jews were killed. Others were making pilgrimages everywhere, mostly in Western Europe. From the 16th century to World War I, the Holy Land, along with much of the Middle East, was ruled by the Ottoman Empire, an Islamic...
How did this happen? Just like that. Okay, was it part of the Arab conquest? I don't know how it all of a sudden got into Ottoman Empire.
The Holy Land, along with much...
Alright, so one of the important takeaways is that most of the people who talk about the significant number of Islam population, or like the increase of Jewish population in Israel, right, mentions that it happened after the World War II, after the Jews fled from the Nazi Germany after killing about 6 million Jews. But actually, it starts way before that. As mentioned in this video, even before the Ottoman Empire, there was a majority of Jewish population in Israel after the after the land of Israel, after King Solomon established the temple, right? And after that, the Arab conquest happened, and the population of like Muslims and maybe Christians also increased over there. So, as hard as it is to admit, there is history, more history that we have to explore in this area.
East.
I'm not someone who supports Israel. I hate what Netanyahu is doing in Gaza right now because it's so much shit, man. I understand October 7th was insane. I understand Israel has the right to defend itself. I know the whole existence of Israel depends on defending themselves, but what the fuck, man?
Ruled by the Ottoman Empire, an Islamic superpower, the land was unofficially called Palestine. At the same time in Europe,
so Ottoman Empire named it Palestine, right?
More Jews were joining a
Palestine.
movement called Zionism, aiming to create a Jewish.
Zionism.
More and more Jews were joining a movement called Zionism, aiming to create a Jewish national state.
When? How? Where?
In its ancient homeland. Hence, in the first decade of the 20th century, tens of thousands of Jews moved from Europe back to the region.
So that was not a consequence of World War II?
Israel and Palestine under the British rule.
So Zionism happened prior
World
to
War I exploded
War
and ended with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. Its land in the Middle East was carved by the British and French empires. The British then gave more independence for Iraq and Jordan, and the region remaining under the control of Britain was what it called the British Mandate for Palestine, where Britain promised to establish a Jewish...
fuck no, man. As an Indian, as a brown man, one of the most important takeaways that I had from looking at our history for the last 400 years is never trust the British. Never. That's the last thing you should do. This is going to end badly for them.
Homeland under its Balfour Declaration, which went into effect in 1923. Tensions between the Jews and the Arabs
who both... There was an important quote from a philosopher named Shashi Tharoor, a politician named Shashi Tharoor from India. He said that the sun never sat on the British Empire because even the God couldn't trust them in the earth. Now, I know this is an insane quote to make. I don't have any issues with the Britishers. I like some of the most idols that the people that I respect the most right now, some of the idols that I have are actually Britishers, but I don't like the current Britishers have nothing to do with this, but you have to understand your history, man. You have to acknowledge your history.
Both You've done a lot of shit through, which even led to acts of violence.
To a lot of people.
By the 1930s, following the increasing Jewish population in Palestine due to the fear of persecution during the Nazi reign in Germany, the British limited Jewish immigration. In response, the Jewish militias formed to both fight the
1935, got it.
Arabs and resist the British rule.
Yeah, Jews fought a lot of wars.
Then came the Holocaust throughout Nazi Germany, which
Jews were facing shit from everybody, actually. From the Britishers, from the Arabs, from the Nazis.
Claimed almost 6 million Jewish lives. After the war, more and more Jews then fled from Europe to Palestine to seek a homeland, escalating the tension with the Arabs. Overwhelmed by the situation, Britain began to withdraw from the region.
Yeah. Whenever I hear someone talk about this issue, most people start their analysis from that point itself, which doesn't make sense to me. As much as I hate Netanyahu, I want the facts right. There is a lot more history to Israel than before World War II, before Jews fled the Nazi Germany. So just
the birth of the Israel
also
state.
In the account.
After World War II, the UN proposed a plan to partition Palestine into two independent states, a Jewish state and an Arab state, with the city of Jerusalem becoming an international zone with a special
Yeah, why was I know this was rejected, but
status.
Why?
However, the plan according to which the Jewish, accounting for only 1/3 of the population, was
Jews only had 1/3 of the population, even after the immigration? Really?
However, the plan according to which the Jewish, accounting for only 1/3 of the population, was granted more territory, 56.5% of the land, was rejected by the Arabs. They began...
Okay, that's kind of not right. But I did not know that the Jewish population was significantly lesser at this point. Okay.
To form volunteer armies throughout Palestine. Less than 1 year after that, as Britain completed its withdrawal from Palestine, Israel declared itself an independent state, marking a new, bloodier chapter in the struggle between the Jews and the Palestinian Arabs.
Palestinian Arabs, okay.
The 1948 Arab-Israel.
So one question, was the Arabs present in Israel prior to the Arab conquests? If that is the case, then there is a lot more history to unpack actually. If there were Muslims there prior to that, then Israel is not right in several of its decisions. But if there weren't, then there are a lot of debates that should happen based on that specific issue.
Israeli war.
Arab-Israeli
right after
war,
the announcement of an independent Israel, a war between the Arabs and the Jews broke out, which was known as the 1948 Arab-Israeli War.
Okay.
The war involved 5 recently independent Arab nations: Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. The Arab League, who invaded the
Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon
region in an attempt to establish a unified Arab Palestine. However, a ceasefire agreement was reached a year later, in which more than 2/3 of historic Palestine, including the West Jerusalem.
That's kind of, I don't know how Israel managed to like beat up so many people being such a small country. Like everywhere, Britishers and the Arabs and a combination of Arabs. They can take a lot of shit and
Israel,
stand
while Jordan occupied East Jerusalem and the area known as the West Bank, and Egypt occupied the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
As a result, more than 750,000 Palestinians were expelled from the land where they lived for centuries on the
750,000
Palestinians.
Okay, there was a decimal over there. I thought it was it's supposed to be a comma, right? Okay, that's kind of really sad. That's messed up
the
actually.
Gaza Strip. As a result, more than 750,000 Palestinians were expelled from the land where they lived for centuries on the day that they call Al-Nakba, or the catastrophe. With the deteriorated dispute between the Jews and the Arabs, there came more wars and fighting in the following decades.
That's kind of sad.
The 60-Day War.
6-day war or 60-day war? Okay, I believe it's 60
It was in 1967 when the 60-Day War broke out after a volatile period of diplomatic friction and skirmishes between Israel and its neighboring Arab states, Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. This brief war ended with the victory of Israel, giving Israel
how do they manage to do that all the time?
Control over the Golan Heights from Syria.
Okay, they even claimed more land. It's like they're all coming together to beat the shit out of Israel, and Israel beat the shit out of all of them and gets more land. And I think that's kind of what's happening right now too. Israel kind of has control over Gaza at this point, doesn't it?
The West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and Gaza and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. Sinai was later returned to Egypt under the Egypt-Israel Peace Treaty. After the war, most Palestinian refugees and their descendants were not allowed to return to their homes, but had to live in Gaza, the West Bank, and neighboring Jordan, Syria.
Okay. So, I don't understand why the Palestinians are being marginalized by the Jews. Is it because that Israel wants to be a Jewish state? Okay, unless the Palestinians within Israel are leading rebellions for their own land, I don't see a reason why Jews and Muslims can't live in peace in Israel.
Syria and Lebanon.
Okay, so
the
Palestinians have been through a lot of shit. Yeah, I understand.
And the Oslo Accords. The rising number of Israelis settling in the Palestinian territories in the West Bank and Gaza.
Again, this I heard about. The Jews messed up bad.
Gave rise to the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, first founded in Cairo, Egypt in 1964 to create a liberated Palestine in Israel. The PLO launched attacks on Israel from its base in Jordan. It was then forced to move from Jordan to Lebanon, starting to carry out acts of terrorism against Israel. Fighting went on for years, including the Israeli invasion of Lebanon to kick the PLO out of Beirut. The PLO eventually agreed to divide the land between Palestine and Israel, but there were still more and more Jewish settlers moved into the Israel-occupied Palestinian territories.
Yeah.
In 1987, a violent Palestinian uprising was ignited, starting from the Jabalia refugee camp after an Israeli Defense Forces truck collided with 2 Palestinian civilian vans, killing 4 of them.
That was not interesting.
This was known as the First Intifada. This bloody conflict, resulting in hundreds of deaths, triggered a peace process with the signing of the Oslo Accords by Israel and the PLO, the Oslo I Accord signed in Washington, D.C., and the Oslo II Accord in Taba, Egypt. According to the Oslo Accords, the West Bank was divided into 3 areas. Area A was exclusively controlled by the Palestinians. Area B was controlled by both the Palestinians and Israel. Area C was fully controlled by Israel.
Area C, where? Oh, really? Very interesting.
The Second Intifada.
So basically, Israel is gaining more and more land with every single war that is happening.
Though further peace talks continued in 2000, the Israelis and Palestinians could not reach agreements on issues like the status of Jerusalem, rights of refugees, and the increased Jewish settlement in Palestinian lands. Ariel Sharon, a Jewish Israeli who would later become Israel's prime minister, visited the Temple Mount, home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. The action was deemed offensive by many Palestinians, and the Second Intifada broke out.
Okay, that's not a good enough reason.
The violence ended with Israel's withdrawal from Gaza, but continued to settle in the West Bank.
Now
Israel conflict with Hamas. Hamas is a Sunni Islamist militant group aiming to destroy the state of Israel.
Basically, the Sunnis are actually not in companions with the Shia Muslims, right? Which are the Arabs, Saudi Arabs. Middle Eastern. I mean, this is also Middle East, isn't it? Yeah.
And create an Islamic state. After the armed conflict between Hamas and Fatah, who managed the PLO, Hamas split from the Palestinian Authority and gained Fatah, who managed the PLO, an Islamic state. After the armed conflict between Hamas and Fatah, who managed the PLO, Hamas split from the Palestinian Authority and gained power in the Gaza. Israel put Gaza under a suffocating blockade, leading to several bloody wars between the two groups in the Gaza Strip, including Operation Cast Lead, Operation Pillar of Defense, and Operation Protective Edge. In 2014, Hamas...
you have no idea what happened after that, do you?
Hamas and Fatah reached agreement to form a national unity government. In 2018, the U.S. Embassy was relocated from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which was deemed by the Palestinians as a signal of American support for Jerusalem as Israel's...
I mean, we all knew that, didn't we?
...capital. 2021, the conflict between Israel and Palestine was reassumed by a series of hostile events in East Jerusalem, leading to several acts of violence until a ceasefire deal brokered by Egypt, Qatar, and the United Nations came into effect on May 21st. Peaceful though it may seem now, the complex and long-lasting territorial dispute between two states is a ticking time bomb that can explode any time.
Yeah, I'll tell you the time when it exploded. October 7th. 2024, yeah. Man. Boy. Okay. Cool. Alright, the lights are in the frame. One of the major things that have to be decided at the end of this war is to decide whether Israel should be a Jewish state. I think that is a question most people have been dealing with. This guy now, who actually is the primary, Democratic primary for the elections of New York mayor, Zoran Mandani, he was asked this question, whether Israel has the right to exist. And he said, yes, Israel of course has the right to exist. But that is not the question he should have been asked. The question that he should have been asked was whether Israel has the right to exist as a Jewish state. I think that is the problem that most people are dealing with right now. Israeli government and maybe the conservatives, most of the conservatives does not want Israel to exist as a Jewish state. I think even the conservatives are divided on this, right? People like Dave Smith and what was the other one? What's the other one? Tucker Carlson. They all actually support Israelis and Palestinians living together. I believe so. I believe that is the case. I mean, at this point, like Palestinians don't have a lot of choice. They are not getting a lot of support from people after, especially after Trump directly engaged in the war, bombing Hamas, bombing Iran. I mean, Iran was like the state sponsor of terror for like a really long time. Hezbollah actually instigated the October 8th attacks. If we agree it or not, Hamas is being brewed by Hezbollah. That's a fact that people should accept. Hamas is a terrorist organization. Hezbollah is also a terrorist organization. They are internationally accepted state-sponsored terrorist organizations. So it does not make sense, to give the control to Hamas or Iran. Because if Israel laid down its weapons, if Israel is gonna stop fighting the war, they're not gonna stop. The other side is not gonna stop, definitely. But if Israel wins the war, that is gonna be bloody. That's gonna be really bad. I think it's gonna be better than them taking control, right? Palestinian people, as per this video, has been going through a lot of shit with the Israelis, and they've been getting kicked out of their homes, and they had to lead a very strugglesome life. Jews lead a very strugglesome life prior to that, and I think probably that's the reason why they have this very narrow motive of making Israel a Jewish state. I understand that, but man, also I don't understand if it is because of the fact that several liberation organizations like the PLO and the Hamas generated from within Israel and the Palestinian controlled area. Could it be because of that Israel kind of wants Israel as a Jewish state, because they fear that there could be similar uprisings and there could be like repetition of events like October 8th? I don't know. Maybe that could be the reason why. Or could it be because of the and like stubbornness of the Israeli governance? Man, see, one thing I cannot agree with is to make a stance which is specific to whether you support Israel or Palestine, right? Whenever you talk to the conservatives about this, most of the time they deem it as Israel versus Hamas. And whenever you talk about Palestinians or like the people who support Palestine on this, they talk about Israel and Palestine. But we have to understand and take into account both the parties, right? October 7th was the largest number of killing of Jews since the Holocaust. 1,200 Jews. They were not killed in a military way. They, like, civilians were targeted and they were raped and killed. And the videos of that were published in social media in the most brutal fashion. And of course, Israel did not want to sit around and, knit sweaters, I think. So, what did you expect Israel to do? I think their intent was that there would be Israeli retaliation, and after that, probably the other world powers would get involved and try to stop Israel, but they kind of did not think that through properly. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to learn about this issue, and I don't think people should directly take a stance supporting one of these sides. I believe there is right in both the sides. The Palestinian people have been going through a lot of shit for a really long time. A lot, I don't know, what is that kill count of the Palestinian people ever since this issue started in 1200? It's like 60, 70,000 or something, with a huge number of children, and I think 20,000 children were killed in this conflict, right? And initially I thought, when the war went on, I thought okay, yeah, Israel, there are civilian casualties that has to be there in the war. But At this point, Israel is like, they don't care if there are civilian casualties, Hamas, yes, of course, they might be hiding behind civilians. They might be, they have taken a lot of hostages, and most of the hostages haven't been released. So there is not, you cannot say that there is like a complete good side and a bad side. At this point, Israel has done a lot of shit, which kind of makes him the bad guy, but a lot of things are understandable. If we had India had a conflict with Pakistan recently, and around 20 Indian tourist civilians are targeted in that by Pakistani terrorists, and these terrorists are state-sponsored terrorists. Even though Pakistan openly agrees it out in the public around it, is a very non-fact. And if something like that happened in India, right, like something like October 7th happened in India, killing 1,200 Indian civilians, Indians wouldn't care if you destroy entirety of Pakistan, if you nuke Pakistan, because what you care about as citizens of India is our right to exist, right? Is how we care about our loved ones. So I understand a bit of the Israeli perspective in this issue, but if you were a Palestinian who did not have anything to do with this war, you just wake up one day, you want to take care of your family, you want to take care of your kids, some bombs are raining over your head, and even after you go to the hospital, the hospital gets bombed, and yeah, it's a difficult question. I think one of the smallest things that we acknowledge is that there is right in both sides, and that it's a difficult question to deal with, right? I hate Donald Trump, but I don't think he was wrong to bomb Iran. The reason is because no one should trust Iran with a nuclear program, and I know Netanyahu has been saying that Iran is close to a nuclear warhead for a really long time, but Israel has been intertwining with Iran for a really long time to prevent them from acquiring a nuclear weapon. But I don't think any nation should trust Iran with a nuclear weapon, man, because people like Supreme Leader of Iran, he mostly runs on ideology, not the facts, right? And if a leader runs on ideologies, they wouldn't care if they take drastic measures like using nuclear weapons. So I would rather trust several other countries I wouldn't trust the Houthis with the nuclear bomb. I wouldn't trust like a terrorist group, Hamas, with a nuclear bomb, for them to not use it. But I would trust America to not use a nuclear bomb unless it's. I would trust European countries to not use it. So that's the thing. Like when countries are governed by ideologies which might not align with the ideologies of several other nations, it is very difficult to trust them with weapons of mass destruction, like a nuke, right? So yeah, I know I might, if this video gets enough attention, probably I'll get a lot of shit from the comment section below. I don't care, because I might do this more often in my channel. Be it call me Islamophobic or anti-Semitic in the comment section below, but we gotta face the facts as it is. And without any further ado, I'm gonna wrap this up. It's been a long time I've been watching this video, and I know this might be a black hole that I might not be able to get out of, but yeah, I decided to go into it, and this is what we're gonna do. If you do like these kind of reactions, if you do like this video, just go to History of Maps. There's a wonderful video explained really well in a very short period of time. And if you do like my video, then hit the thumbs up button over here and subscribe to the channel for similar content. Without any further ado, I'm gonna wrap this video up, and I'll see you guys next video. Good night.